All right, we've talked about the political implications of the new COVID-19 relief package with Congressman Jeff Van Drew. But what about the financial implications, Rob? You know, the new 5,500-page plus $900 bill relief package also contains a massive government spending bill that we mentioned earlier. And, you know, it includes some rather insane additions that we didn't break down. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic with millions of Americans dealing with, you know, very real economic hardships, and yet we are spending millions upon millions of dollars on other countries' pet projects. So let's break down some of those with friend of the show and financial journalist Trish Regan. Trish, welcome to the show. So good to see you.
Good to see you too, Lyndsay. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Rob.
Merry Christmas. All right, I just got to ask you off the bat, in this government spending bill, what would you say is one of the most egregious things that you've seen so far?
Okay, well, I just can't quite get over the whole $10 million for gender programs in Pakistan. I mean, to me, that's symbolic of a whole lot here, because you can go right down the list. There's multiple things. I mean, whether it's more than $500 million that's going to a variety of South American countries, including Nicaragua and Panama and El Salvador, or whether it's the $33 million to Venezuela. Believe me, I am all for democracy in Venezuela. I just don't think that this is the time or the place to be giving money to these projects, so to speak. But from Pakistan to the whole thing with the Dalai Lama reincarnation to the $40 million for the Kennedy Center. Now, Lyndsay, you know, I'm a big patron of the arts. I mean, I have a whole background in classical music. I love the Kennedy Center. However, this is one that I think at a time like this really should be relying on private citizens to make donations, as opposed to going to the American taxpayer who's already struggling, looking for another handout. This is so fundamentally wrong in every way, shape, or form. Hey, the one good bit of news here, though, is I do think we can all agree on that. I actually think that Democrats and Republicans right across America should be able to agree on the fact that this is really messed up, and we cannot afford to be doing this right now.
I hope that people are waking up to some of this, and I love that people are seeing these details about paying for Egypt's military and all this other nonsense that we do. This is what we do in America, and I think it frustrates a lot of people. Talking about the stimulus package, though, and the COVID relief package, we're looking at $900 billion. Looks like the president's going to up that maybe into the trillions, maybe $2-3 trillion when they're done with it. What will this do to the market, these huge stimulus bills?
Oh, the market will love it. Okay, so let me be clear, because whether we're talking about the real economy or the market as a whole, there's sort of two different things. In terms of what he's trying to do with the COVID relief package, whether it is a multiplier of $900 billion, we'll see. It very well could wind up being much more. And of course, Nancy Pelosi is very welcoming of the $2,000 checks. I have my concerns, let me be clear, about whether that's really going to make enough of a difference in everyday people's lives, because to me, you know, you ought to just open up the economy as safely as you possibly can, allow people to go back to work, and then this kind of takes a natural sense of progress, right? Instead of saying, okay, we're going to pay you to stay home and you can't go to work. But let me just point out, in fact, I did a big article on TrishIntel.com on this about how you could be looking at the roaring 20s, right? The market is going to love it. It's not actually going to result, in my view, in fundamental change in our economy, but it does give that little bit of a boost. You're going to have a ton of stimulus, right, from the fiscal side, but you're also going to have it from the monetary side, courtesy of the Federal Reserve. You combine those things together, and investors are in heaven.
Well, at least there is some silver lining in that way, I guess. You know, the interesting thing is we brought this up with Congressman Van Drew, but Rand Paul, one of the 6 senators who didn't vote for this COVID relief bill, kind of went off on Monday to Congress, really speaking down to his fellow Republicans, saying, you know, you don't really know what being fiscally conservative means anymore. And he pointed out and said, you know, we would have had money for this COVID-19 relief bill if we hadn't been ridiculous for the rest of the year. And he points out, I just want to bring up a few of these for our viewers to see, but he brings up, you know, spending money for lizards on treadmills, over $1.5 million. Studies for, you know, does stress make your hair turn gray? I will tell you, yes, I don't need to spend $36 million to tell you that, Trish, but it's so silly. And it just makes you wonder, what does the future look, you know, for our grandchildren and for future generations?
Listen, my third child, my son, definitely, suddenly I needed to visit the hair salon a lot more frequently after him. So yes, stress will do that. No, but look, here's the reality. Nobody's thinking about these things. Good for Rand Paul, good for the 5 other senators that actually stood up to this insanity. One of the problems, and it makes me so mad, is that none of these politicians are really focused on the long term, right? It's all about the here and now. And if you can make a certain group happy, including maybe some of the lobbyists that are putting a lot of pressure on you, then sure enough, they try to make that group happy. It's not their money. It's our money. It's our kids' money. It's our grandchildren's money, right? You're mortgaging the future to try and get through the present. Now, I get what Congressman Van Drew is saying, right? Sometimes you got to spend money to make money. But you got to keep this all in perspective. And for some reason, we just keep spending money and spending money and spending money. And you're talking about $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there, $1 trillion here. I mean, this stuff adds up. And ultimately, this is my concern. You're going to pay the price down the road, courtesy of inflation, right? We've had a lot of inflation in the markets, and I think we'll see more of that. But in terms of inflation overall, you're going to have some real problems. And so your money's not going to be worth what you thought.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's lowering the value of our dollar in the long run, which is not a good thing. Trish, it's so great to have you on. Hopefully this will help wake up Congress and the American people to realize what's really happening there. And really appreciate you coming on during the holidays. A very Merry Christmas to you.
A very Merry Christmas to you guys. Thanks so much.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.